And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app. Download that into your phone. It is free, and you can watch and listen to our program daily in its entirety. And then, of course, if you happen to miss something, always go back and check us out. You can always head to jbandgoldwatershow.com as well. Follow us on social media across all platforms at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. You can send us a text if you'd like, 843-321-8893. That line is open. You can always send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever. Darren puts them up on the screen and makes you a part of our program, just like our three guests will be today. Really good ones, really good people. A lot of fun to be had over the next couple of hours. In less than 10 minutes, we'll be joined by Tony Skole, head baseball coach of the Citadel Bulldogs. Yeah, we'll talk about his 2021 squad and things like that. But Tony was a member of, if you're watching our show or listening, something you just heard and saw, the 1990 Citadel team that made their run to Omaha. He is headed back out this weekend to see his best friend, Chris Lemonis, coach Mississippi State. Game one for them in the tournament is the final game of the opening round coming up on Sunday night. So we'll do much more. We've got Raphael Esparza in Vegas at 12:30 today. Get some U.S. Open odds and some College World Series odds. And then because we were off on Wednesday, J.C. Shurburtt, owner of thebigspur.com, will join us at 1:20 today, and we'll have a fun conversation with him about the college football playoff, its expansion, maybe how could it affect South Carolina, how would it have in years past. And it's a big recruiting weekend for the Gamecocks as well. Plus, what are other coaches saying about Carolina football and the hire of Shane Beamer? JC will have that for you in just a little while as well. But first and foremost, to my good dear friend Darren Goldwater, good afternoon. And I know we were on vacation, but happy Friday.
You know, when you're on vacation and then you come back and jump right back into the thick of things, that you still need that weekend again. It's a 2-day work week, but it still feels like I'm happy that it's Friday. I'm almost as happy as Bryson DeChambeau was when he was jumping up in the background of Brooks Koepka's interview yesterday at Torrey Pines. It didn't go as viral as the whole thing from Kiowa did, but yeah, there was DeChambeau jumping up, so he got in the screenshot of the Koepka interview.
Yeah, I know. You wonder about that a little bit, right? Like I do believe that they aren't fond of each other. I think that's true, but I also believe that there's a part of both of them that's saying, you know what? Yeah, we don't like each other, but let's go ahead and milk this thing as much as we can.
It feels like it's become less intense and more of a game, doesn't it? It feels like that, at least. But I agree. I don't think they like each other.
No, I don't either. I don't think they like each other. I also think they've looked at it and said, you know what we don't have to like each other, but we can always use each other to reward ourselves from a financial standpoint. So why not? It certainly appears that way. We do have our buy and sell segment coming up in just a little bit as well. Got some college baseball news to get to here in just a few moments. But first, we'll start with what we do every Friday, our 2-minute drill to kick off the weekend. And what a weekend it will be. The U.S. Open is in round 2 in La Jolla. Out at Torrey Pines, the South Course, par 71, over 7,600 yards. The purse is $12.5 million. How about this leaderboard? Louis Oosthuizen's up there now at 4 under. So's Russell Henley. He'll tee off this afternoon. Formerly a resident in Mount Pleasant, Scott Glaze knows Russell very well. He leads still after his 4 under yesterday opening round of the 2021 U.S. Open. Richard Bland, Frankie the Assassin, as they call him, Molinari. They're at 3 under. So is Rafa Cabrero Bello. And how about John Rahm and Brooks Koepka and Xander Schauffele lurking, all at 2 under. John Rahm is on the course through 4. Koepka and Schauffele will tee off in the 4 o'clock Eastern hour this afternoon. The College World Series is set to go, Darren. I think it's going to be one of the better ones. Looking forward to talking to Tony Skole in less than 5 minutes about this. Pitching galore has littered Omaha, Nebraska this year. And we'll see how it all kind of plays itself out. But is there a favorite? I don't know. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, though, we do know is game 1, Stanford and NC State, followed by Vandy and Arizona at 7 o'clock. Both of those on ESPN. Sunday, ESPN 2, Tennessee and Virginia at 2. And then the 7 o'clock first pitch is Texas and Mississippi State. This sucker, of course, can go all the way until Wednesday, June the 30th. The finals begin Monday, the 28th of June. So it's going to be a 2 television type weekend, and we don't want to forget about Euro 2021. Raphael Esparza will fill us in on that in a little bit.
I watched a lot of Euro 2021 when I was actually down in Florida. My uncle is Swedish, born and raised in Sweden. He's the one who took me to the World Cup when it was on U.S. soil up in New York. And when I was 13 or 14 years old, we were out in Europe, and we went to, I believe it was the Euro Cup at the time as well. So I have some experience in big match soccer fandom.
Oh, well, then you and Raphael are going to have a great conversation at 12:30 today. I'll take my daily 12:30 nap, and I'll see you at 1:05 after the national anthem.
That'll work.
I do have some recruiting news to get to here. A 2030 quarterback, Cameron, I believe it's Steedings, and if I've said that wrong, maybe Steddings. But this is a class of 2030 quarterback. Remember, they start recruiting them fairly young these days. Cameron has a birthday coming up tomorrow, and so we want to wish him a happy birthday. I want to encourage him to continue to perform well so he can be in the mix for Shane Beamer's staff to really go hot and heavy on the in-home visits here in just a few years.
In the classroom, too.
Absolutely. Well, if you're not in the classroom, they're not going to recruit you anyways. You better be smart. There's no doubt about that. But let's see, it's 2021, 2030, 9 years off. So I'm going with 9th birthday here, maybe?
Yep, right about that. That.
All right. Well, happy birthday, Cameron, up there in beautiful Boiling Springs, South Carolina. And I know the Boiling Springs folks, when they hear people say Boiling Springs, they're like, no. It's Boiling Springs. So happy birthday to Cameron. All right, some college baseball news on the national side of things. Kevin Kopps has won the Dick Hauser Trophy. He is the first relief pitcher ever to win this thing. So congratulations to Kevin Kopps. I think it's the first of probably what's going to be many awards heading his way. We'll keep our eyes on the Golden Spikes Award. For reference, by the way, the Dick Hauser Award has been around since 1987. No Gamecock has ever won it, but 3 Clemson Tigers have. Chris Benson did in 1996, longtime big leaguer, another big leaguer. Khalil Green won it in 2002. Although if the vote was taken before the College World Series, there's probably a reason why. Drew Meyer, in the battle of shortstops, really had Khalil's number that year, but I'm just kidding. I know I met Khalil when I was in college. I went to school with his sister, a super, super guy with a great family. But he won it back in 2002. and Seth Beer won it in 2016, the Dick Hauser Trophy. The Golden Spikes Award will be released here soon. There has been one Clemson Tiger who has won that. That was also Khalil Green. I don't know if people remember how great of a season Khalil Green had in 2002 as part of that Michael Johnson, Khalil Green, Jeff Baker, amazing middle of the order there. But he won it in 2002, and that was just 2 years after Kip Baltnight won it at South Carolina. Anyways. All right. Also, speaking of baseball, let me get this out as well, because this guy knows a little bit about Team USA. The USA Collegiate National Team, the whole roster has not been announced, but there are Palmetto State ties. Caden Grice, superstar freshman for Monty up there in Tiger Town. He has been announced a couple of days ago as part of this year's team. And then we found out just a little while ago officially that Gamecock freshman righty Will Sanders, who's also a freshman All-American, as is Caden Grice, will be a part of that 2021 Collegiate National Team. Tony Skole was a part of the 2019 Collegiate National Team as a coach. So was Mark Kingston. So was Dan McDonnell. Chris Lemonis was helping out with that. But he can't do it this weekend because Lemo's up there in Omaha getting ready to go with the Bulldogs. Tony Skole is going to head up there and see him. But first, he's pulled off the side of the road to talk to us on a beautiful Friday afternoon. Tony, what's up, brother?
Hey, JB, Darren, good afternoon. How you guys doing?
Man, we're good when you're on. You make everything better. You're always so enthusiastic. Just a great dude. It's been too long. So we're glad to have you back, brother.
Man, glad to be with you guys. Y'all having a good summer?
Well, yeah.
Just getting started, right? I mean, we're just in the thick of it.
Yeah.
That's it. A lot of exciting baseball being played right now.
Where are you? You on the road recruiting?
I'm on the road, and I'm actually been recruiting, heading to Atlanta. It's my mom's birthday today, so we're going to take her to dinner this evening, and then it'll be a quick trip. I'll be back on Saturday, back in Charleston on Saturday.
Nice. You got a flight to catch, right?
That's right. That's right. Flying out Sunday to Omaha to support my good friend Chris Lemonis, so we're looking forward to that.
Well, first of all, happy birthday to Mom. Make sure that we'll send the birthday JB and Goldwater care package. Darren will throw some beer in there, and we'll send you a cup and a koozie to drink it in and all that.
Sure.
There you go. Sounds perfect. That'll never get to her.
No, I know it won't. not if it's riding in your car or in Jody's car. I'm not sure if she's with you or not. And family's doing well. All the boys good. The wife's good.
Everybody's great. Everybody's great, finishing up school and looking forward to a good summer. It's good. It's good to be back on the road again. It's good to be watching games and getting out to evaluate these young players and young prospects. So, it's been so long, been over 14 months since we've been able to recruit. So both Blake and Zach, both my assistants, are on their way back from the upstate right now. I think they're actually going to a game at Founders Park this afternoon. So we've been out and about looking for players, and we need them. So it's been a good start to the summer for us.
Well, I spent some time with that very popular pitching coach of yours at Founders Park just a couple of weekends ago. It's hard to have a full conversation with him when there's a bunch of Carolina fans around because he's still a legend in the Midlands. But, let me give a free plug for Citadel Baseball. If you're a pitcher, you probably want to play for Blake Cooper. He sat there and called about 20 pitches in a row while we were watching one of the ball games over the weekend, and they were all the correct calls. So I think he's probably pretty good at what he does. If you throw somewhere in the mid-90s, right or left-handed, you should sign with the Citadel. How's that sound, Tony?
Well, I tell you what, first and foremost, we need guys to be able to throw it over the plate, JB. We got to have strike throwers. But, yeah, we're looking for them. Obviously, that's an area where we've got to get better, no doubt. And I think Coach Cooper's, he's getting better and better each year. And you're right. He could probably be the mayor of Columbia. I can't go anywhere with him without somebody knowing him or coming up and talking to him. So it's always neat to be around him, especially in the Midlands area.
Yeah, he's something funny, man. Blake says a lot without saying much, if that makes sense to people. He's not a big talker, but when he does, it's pretty funny stuff. Tony, let's before we get to Omaha this year, I do want to go back. I hate to age you here, brother, but over 30 years now since you made the run as a player. Sorry about that, but it's true. But I do want to talk about your guys in the 2021 season, just kind of recapping it. Clearly, it didn't go the way you wanted it to go. We all understand that. We know that you understand that. We know that you're working hard to get it fixed. But when you look back, now that the dust has kind of settled on the season and you've been able to reflect on things, you went through COVID there towards the end of the year. That was kind of a strange situation for your family. But as you've been able to reflect in a little bit of, if you want to call it downtime, what has come to the forefront of your mind about this season and moving forward with the Citadel baseball program?
Well, obviously it wasn't what we had expected or hoped for. I really did. And that's sort of the discouraging thing about it was, I really thought we were going to be okay and compete at the top of our league. But we just, we could never get things going. And it all started on the mound. We just weren't consistent on the mound. And, it just sort of snowballed for us. We had we were still very young. Some young hitters, young position players, but we just never pitched at a high enough level or to be at a championship level program. And if you watch a lot of postseason baseball over the last 2.5, 3 weeks, I mean, the guys with the best pitching always win, and it beats good hitting day in and day out. So we've got to get better. I've got to do a better job. Obviously, when things don't go well, you're scratching your head trying to fix things, trying to sometimes put a Band-Aid on things and just trying to move in a different direction because you're just looking for something to click. But the bottom line is, to win at this level on a consistent basis, you've got to throw strikes. You've got to make the routine plays and play good defense. And you got to get timely hitting. And the teams that do that are the teams that are playing this week. And so there's no secret recipe, secret formula. It comes down to us coaching better and us preparing our kids to play better.
Going to kind of lump a lot of this in to one question here. So right now, Tony, according to maybe 30 minutes ago, Kendall Rogers with D1 Baseball, there are over 1,800 names in the transfer portal in college baseball. That is just unbelievable. And so I say that's kind of part one of the start of this question. The other side, though, is you go back 30 years, 20 years, even a little bit less than that. Recruiting to the Citadel maybe was a little bit different than it is now. Obviously, the Citadel is a very special institution. It takes the right type of person to want to attend there and be a Bulldog. But it has a storied history in athletics and specifically in the sport of baseball. You're part of that, a major part of it. With the transfer portal in play, and you were recruited by the Citadel, and now you're recruiting kids to come play in the Citadel. How have things evolved over the last 30 years? Is it more difficult these days? What has changed, if anything?
Well, definitely the face of our game of college baseball is changing, and has changed a lot in the last 5-10 years, and it's going to continue to change. With the transfer portal, that has been a big part of it. And my big thing is, as a coach, and I think I speak for a lot of coaches, we all want our players to be happy. That's the first and foremost reason why we're in it. We want them to get a degree, be successful, and have a great experience, and be happy. Nobody wants their players to be unhappy. So if a young man is unhappy and he can find a better opportunity to go someplace else, and it's going to be better for him and his family, even maybe financially, then, I'm all for that. I don't have any issues with that. So, but you're going to see it. You're going to see it in football and basketball. I mean, kids are just going to jump ship, and you're going to have rosters just be completely different year in and year out. And why wouldn't they? And then once you start talking about the NIL stuff and the paying of kids, that's really going to be it's going to throw another element into it, because kids are going to jump to the highest bidder. So it's college athletics. It's got some challenging times ahead of it. But for us, the difference, for our program, just the quality of baseball, in our state has gotten so much better with just the College of Charleston's, the Woffords, the Winthrops, the Presbyterians, USC Upstate, all those schools now are very, very good. They've got great coaches. They've invested in facilities. They spend money. They recruit, and they got good players. So I think that's been the biggest challenge for our program here. Is back when we were having success, and when Coach Port, Coach Jordan were winning a lot of championships. It was Clemson, Carolina, and the Citadel in this state, and now you've got Coastal Carolina. I didn't even mention them. Gosh, they won a national championship a couple years ago. So, it's just it's not always how can I say, it's not always a fair fight in that aspect. But we feel like we're on to some good kids. We got some great recruits coming in, and we got some good young ones committed as well. So we're excited. You got to work a little harder. You got to go out there and find them. Got to work a little harder.
One of the most respected baseball guys in the country, Tony Skole, head coach at the Citadel, joining us here about 12:20 on this Friday afternoon. And junior college too, Tony. I mean, there are JUCOs all over this state now, and some kids, like to go there and kind of refine their tools for a year or two and then see what happens. What about access? You used to not have Twitter and Facebook and all these things where kids could, put all their video out there, and you didn't have all these travel tournaments. I mean, back in those days, in your days, you had Legion, you had high school baseball, and that was it. And now you have kids playing year round, and they can show everybody who they are. And, you just have so much more access to kids in little towns you've never heard of. But back in those days, the Citadel could dip into some of these smaller towns and grab talent that nobody had seen just yet. And then they go to the Citadel and become a superstar, guys who could play pretty much anywhere, like yourself. How about from that aspect? How would you describe that as the head baseball coach?
Well, no doubt. No kids don't slip through the cracks anymore. There's so much visibility. Like you said, the travel ball is expansive throughout the country. On any given weekend, you can go and you can see, 700, 800 to 1,500 kids play. So it makes it easier. It makes it easier for coaches. I think back in the day, you could get out there, like you said, and beat the bushes and find kids and outwork coaches. Nowadays, everybody works. Everybody's making money. Everybody's getting paid. So coaches are out there working and grinding, and we're all fighting for the same players. So, and then the social media aspect, it really shrinks the world. I mean, especially for the last 14, 15 months, when you couldn't go and recruit and evaluate, you're having to look at a lot of video. And it makes it tough because nobody posts a video of themselves striking out or making an error or walking. You don't ever see that. You just see the base hits, the home runs, and the guys play. So it felt like, I know talking to my assistants, they're like, gosh, there's a lot of good players out there. I can't wait to get back out there. And I was like, well, just pump your brakes a little bit. It hasn't changed that drastically, but that's sort of what it's done. You have to be very careful with that stuff, but it has. It's shrunk the world and made everybody extremely more visible.
I think those are the only videos that are available of my playing days, the ones where I was striking out. I don't know what happened to all the other ones, but they're not. They don't exist apparently.
It's just like putting together demo tapes, man. You find like
right.
2 or 3 things you did really well in your entire career, and you put it on a tape and say, "Look how great I am."
That's right.
That's it. That's it, Aaron. You're exactly right.
Well, so let's go back 30 years. We've done this before. We'll kind of do it again here. And now you've got one member of that incredible tribe of friends that y'all have from those days of playing baseball at the Citadel back in it again. There's Chris Lemonis in Mississippi State, and they got a really good chance to win it as well. But, this I know that you and Mac and Lemo talk all the time amongst many of those guys that you played with, but what is this time of year like? Once again, just a couple of years ago, Dan McDonald and Chris Lemonis were both up there in Omaha. But what's it been like over the last week or two as Mississippi State has made their run? What have those conversations been like?
Well, it's been awful exciting to watch Chris and his ball club, and every game's been on television, so that's been exciting. I talk to Dan and Chris every day. There's not a day that we don't talk on the phone. So actually I talked to Chris this morning, and he's excited and he's got a good ball club. But it always brings back good memories, a lot of fun, special memories, special people were on that team, and it's fun to have guys like Chris and Dan that have been so successful in the baseball world to actually be able to get their team out there and to go out there and experience that and support them is really neat. It's really neat.
Just a kind of an offhand question here, both of you. Maybe we'll have to research this. How many states out there have 4 baseball programs that have been to Omaha? Have you ever thought about that? I mean, Texas, California, sure, I get it. Where else? Does Florida have 4? Miami, Florida State, and Florida. Who else?
That's a good question, JB. I don't know. I would,
know,
Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern. Yeah, there's only maybe a couple. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like, okay, Southern Miss has been, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. There's 3. I don't know of another.
There's a bunch with 3.
There's a bunch with 3. Yeah, Texas, California, South Carolina. What about North Carolina? North Carolina, NC State. I mean, Wake Forest won it back in 1954. It's been a while, but they've been there. I bet North Carolina's got 4.
California might have 4. I got 3. Yeah. You got Fresno State, UCLA, Stanford.
Yeah, Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So California.
Yeah, they've got at least 4.
Oh,
yeah.
There's 5 or 6 in California. Southern Cal won 100 of them back in the 70s.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's interesting, but probably only 3 that I could think. Maybe North Carolina, I don't know, but I know for sure South Carolina, Texas, and California for sure.
Yeah, and 2 of them in South Carolina are what you would consider mid-majors. I know that some people are a little sensitive when we say that about Coastal Carolina, but I got news for them. They're still pretty much considered a mid-major, although they play at a high level. There's no doubt. But the Citadel, I mean, what y'all did, was there anybody, Tony, prior to 1990 that was the size of the Citadel who had ever been to Omaha?
I'd have to go back and look, JB, but I don't think so. I mean, we were 2,000 students back then, so I'd be very surprised if that smallest student body had ever been there before.
What was it about that team that was so special? I mean, obviously you could all play, but I mean, there's a lot of teams that can play. What made you so special to get through Coral Gables and off to the center of America?
Well, I think Coach Ford, obviously Coach Hatley, Coach Crea, and that coaching staff was very good. They always had us ready to play and ready to compete. But I mean, we could really pitch. We weren't really deep, but we could really pitch. Starting pitching was great, and then going back, and I've been able to go back and sort of relive some of those games and look at some of those games. And our starters, they were throwing a lot of complete games, 7, 8, 9 innings, and then we were really good on the back end with Kraft and Glaze and Skole, and so we had really dominant pitching. And then, of course, Anthony Jenkins was probably arguably one of the best players in the country at that time. And he, gosh, we got on his back and he carried us everywhere. I mean, it's just amazing what AJ did. And then, guys like Dan McDonald and Philip Tobin and Jason Richlick, Billy Baker, he's sort of an unsung hero, Chris Coker, Mike Branham. I mean, we just had some guys that were just tough, hard-nosed competitors that weren't scared of a fight. I mean, they just weren't scared of a fight. And we got lucky and had some breaks and just were able to put it all together. And I think once you get to the postseason, and I was talking to Chris about this last night, you get out to Omaha, man, you got to get lucky. You really do. It's so hard to win it out there. And I don't know if there's a formula for it, but you just got to be playing good baseball, and you got to play it, and you got to be playing well at the right time.
The teams that win this thing or get to Omaha, the teams that get to Omaha, are there still similarities in today's game of baseball, like the type of guys, the type of clubs, these dirtbag type dudes that you saw back when you played, kind of like how y'all were?
I think so. I think some of the characteristics, you got a lot of power arms in the game now. So power pitching and strikeouts are, it's sort of like Major League Baseball are taking over. I think, the park plays a little bigger than Rosenblatt did. So, but I think the athletes are catching up with it. When Ameritrade was first built, that's everybody felt like it was the Grand Canyon. But, players are developing and programs are learning. And balls, there'll be enough. As long as the wind's not blowing straight in, there'll be a lot of home runs hit. I'm sure of it. There's, you look at the physicality of some of these offenses that are out there. Man, I got to watch Stanford and Arizona play, and they just usually the West Coast teams, you don't see a lot of physicality. They're more of a small ball inside game type team. And man, there's some mooses. Obviously, in the Southeast, that's sort of the nature of the game. Big, strong, physical athletes. So it's going to be interesting. But I do think power pitching, and then you've got to get big hits out there to win. That's just, you got to hit in timely situations. Everybody plays good defense out there. So that's sort of a given, but the power pitching, and then you just got to get some timely hits.
Coach JB just mentioned the team makeup. I just want to make it more specific to Mississippi State, because Lemo has talked solely this year, about recruiting to Mississippi State and how some of the guys he looks for are similar to guys that he both recruited at the Citadel and played alongside with at the Citadel. Are there similarities in that team that you can see, and how does it benefit them?
I do see it, and I know, the SEC Player of the Year, Tanner Allen, he was on our USA team, so I got to spend the whole summer with Tanner, and Lemo said it. He's got some country redneck kids that like to fish and hunt, and they chew tobacco, and they just love to play the game. And they, and in that atmosphere, they're playing in front of 14,000 people, and it's just crazy there in Starkville. They just have embraced it. They love it. And so, yeah, and I think every team there, Stanford, Arizona, Vanderbilt, even some of the blue bloods of college baseball, they're all going to have, you don't get this far without having tough, hard-nosed, competitive kids that really like to compete. You just can't get this far and have this much success without that being a true foundation of your program. So I think that's evident of all 8 teams that are out there, but I definitely know Chris has sort of built his team around those characteristics.
Yeah, and when you look at, I don't think any of these coaches personally, not that I can remember ever meeting them outside of Lemo, but you look at some of the coaches, or I'd say, Tony, all the coaches that are in Omaha. I mean, you look at Vitello at Tennessee and Coach O'Connor up there at UVA, and Lemo and Tim at Vandy, Elliot Avan, who's coaching this year's Team USA collegiate national team. Those guys literally take on the personalities of their coaches. I mean, they're the same type dudes. They're just tough. They get after it every day. No excuses, that type of deal. I mean, when you see that, when you see them play and then you realize who their head coach is, it all makes sense.
Yeah, like I said, I think this series, this field is probably one of the strongest that there's been in recent years, and I think that's a tribute to the quality of the head coaches and the assistant coaches that are on their staffs. I mean, it is really, really some high-level baseball coaches and baseball minds out there this week. So, and you're right. All those teams are obviously hard to beat. You look at Virginia, Brian O'Connor, and I got to meet Brian when he was on the USA staff the year before me. They came down to Charleston, and I got to spend some time with him. It's the first time I'd ever met him, knew of him, but very, very calm, mild-mannered guy. But you could see, just talking with him, the competitive fire that he had. And obviously we were all watching that Carolina regional and watching them come through it. What a gritty bunch. I definitely don't think the most talented bunch, although they have talented players, but what a gritty bunch. And I do think that's a direct reflection on Coach O'Connor for sure.
I agree. What are you going to do in Omaha? Is anybody else going to accompany you? I know you're going to watch baseball, but do y'all have other plans? Are there other guys that are going to meet you out there? What's that look like?
Yeah. So I'm going to take Tila. I'm going to take I usually take a son every year when I go out there. So I'm going to take my oldest this time, and we're going to go out there, and we'll get there early Sunday morning, probably grab lunch with Chris and spend some time with him. And then, when you get around that field, it really is like baseball heaven. There's just so many baseball things going on. The people, it's neat to be there early in the week because all 8 teams are there, and every one of their fan bases think they're going to be the one to win it. And it's just, gosh, there's just such an electricity in Omaha and around that stadium. So you could spend your days just walking around the outside and never going into the stadium and be content. It's that electrical out there during this time of year. So there's a lot to see. We want to see as many games as we can. Obviously, we'll be at all of Chris's games, but too, and I'll track down to where they don't play every day, so I'll make sure I track down where these teams are practicing. They usually practice at Creighton or some of the local high schools, and I'll go watch them practice. And I'm going to try to learn as much as I can.
All right, outside of Mississippi State, and I know we got to let you run here, but outside of Mississippi State, who do you believe in this field is best set up to win it? I'm not asking you who you think will win it. We know that can change quickly in Omaha, Nebraska. Who is best set up to win it?
Well, I tell you, I think Vanderbilt. They're the defending champs, I guess, and their 1-2 punch of Rocker and Leiter are going to be hard to beat. But they're not unbeatable by any means. Right. And again, but if you just look on paper, you got to sort of give them the inside track. But again, you have to rise to the occasion. You have to have your players rise to the occasion. And it takes a couple big innings. And like I said, everybody has good pitching out there. You can't get there without great pitching. So I think they're probably the team that people are going to have to go through. And I really like Stanford. I didn't get to see Stanford play until the Super Regional. And wow, I think they may have a chance to surprise some people. Obviously, Texas is much better than they've been from the beginning. That's a team that's just gotten better and better throughout the season. So everybody's dangerous. It's going to be a great series. I don't think you could handicap this one. It's going to be tough just to pick, the first round games, who's going to win. There's some really good matchups out there.
I agree. Outside of Texas, I'm with you. I hadn't seen much of Stanford or, for that matter, Arizona. And man, the Wildcats can swing the sticks. I know they're going to see Rocker in game 1, but they can swing it, Tony. I mean, they're really good.
They can, and again, NC State probably had one of the best offenses in the country during the season, and then Tennessee is just wow, they don't have it out in their lineup. So it's about as good as it gets right now for a field out in Omaha. It should be exciting.
Yeah, I hope you have just a blast, and please give our best to Jody and the rest of your family, and happy birthday to Mom. And when you get back, I know that Louisville and Mississippi State are really, really good, but we'll get together and we'll figure out a way to get them down here in a round robin sometime next year over at the Joe. How about that?
The JB and Goldwater Invitational. How about that?
No, it's got to be named after the 90 Citadel team, like the 90 Citadel Invitational.
Oh, whatever. I was the voice of at least some of the Citadel teams long after that. It could be the JB and Goldwater show.
Yeah, I like that.
We'll be whatever you want us to do, but we just have to get. I know Lemo brought the dogs to town this year, but we got to get them down for an actual weekend. Get Louisville and Mississippi State, and whoever else you want to come up with. We'll get them back. We'll get them. Bring whoever.
That would be great. Would love to do it. It'll take some convincing and maybe a couple steak dinners, I'm sure.
Well, I know a great steak restaurant, so we'll.
There we go.
Yeah, Tony, have a blast, man. Safe travels. We'll talk to you here very soon.
All right, you guys have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day.
You too.
Happy Father's Day to you, Tony. Happy Father's Day, brother. Thank you. There you go, Tony Skole, one of just the great men in sports, head baseball coach of the Citadel Bulldogs. I know Raphael is waiting patiently. We're going to hit a quick timeout. We'll fly to Vegas when we return on the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump? Strike two. If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with 0 down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to BCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right, local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
The JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
I'm gonna keep on the run. I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last dime. If I wind
You know, I've missed hearing that intro. It's been way too long since we've seen our fine friend from mybookie.ag, well, or from Vegas, Raphael Esparza. Both. Hey, man.
What's going on, guys? Long time no see. I mean, someone had vacation, power outages, kids,
surgery,
hungover, jury duty, vasectomy. I don't know what other you guys.
Well, it's not entirely our fault because this stretch of not talking to you began with you.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
That one was mine. That wasn't my fault either. That was that was hereditary. That had nothing to do with me.
Well, you know, we all have to blame somebody. So. But we are happy to see you. I know we had to make you wait another few minutes. Sorry about that, but that's okay.
All right. Got some soccer on the tube. I mean, it's a good day.
Football.
The real football.
Oh, here we go. MyBookie.ag is where you can follow along. 50% sign-up bonus up to your first $1,000. If you've never done this and you want to get into sports betting, you want to make some money, Raphael will tell you how to do that. But up to your first $1,000 on MyBookie.ag, they'll give you 50% of it. So you put in $500, you get $250. You put in $1,000, you get $500. You get it. Simple math, right? Simple math. Live betting is up as well right now. Rom at plus 400 at the U.S. Open out in La Jolla, California, the site of Torrey Pines. Currently, Louis Oosthuizen and Russell Henley are in the lead. Oosthuizen is on the course. He's through 5. He's even. Richard Bland had jumped up there, but he just bogeyed, so he's dropped back down and shot to 3 under alongside Rafa Cabrera Bello and Frankie the Assassin. He's at 3 under, Francesco Molinari. But there is John Rahm at 2 under par, Raphael. Actually, you know, there's a couple of big names there. I mean, there's Brooks Koepka again. I mean, Brooks Koepka was right here just a few weeks ago, had a shot to win the PGA Championship. Mickelson, of course, won it, but he just shows up. Who cares about legs and knees and backs and all that crap? He doesn't give a damn about that. It's a major. He's going to show up and play.
I'm just looking to see if he's going to punch DeChambeau. I could care less about what he shoots. I could care less who wins the U.S. Open. I want beef. I mean, for the U.S. Open, the delays is probably killing the gambling part of what happens on a U.S. Open or any major. So for them finishing the first and starting the second, that kills the live betting and the betting for us. So we're pretty much, if it stays like this, we're pretty much probably going to throw the U.S. Open as a wash for us gambling-wise, just because of delays just crush it. We can't do second-round matchups. It's hard for us to put up who's going to win it when someone's still playing their first round and second round. So for us, it's an absolutely a killer for us. But hopefully they'll still continue to play and no more delays. But yesterday was a big punch in the gut for us in gambling terms for the layovers.
But what about Mickelson? Because there's a ton of money in Vegas riding on Mickelson, right? I mean, the possibility of a huge loss, I guess, turned around to the possibility of a better win with his performance yesterday out there, right?
Oh, the cell phone cameras, boo-hoo-hoo. I mean, shut up. I mean, you should be in jail. You know how you guys feel about Phil Mickelson. I don't care. I hope he shoots a plus 30 today.
That'd be 30 over in golf terms.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I saw the comments. I know that he prefaced them with, hey, look, we're on the PGA Tour. I'm a professional. We should just kind of let this slide. But it's still, but he actually continued to go, well, I know, but we're on the PGA Tour, and he did that 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think he was going to win this thing. I know that. Did you? You thought
I know I didn't, but there's a lot of money in Vegas on him just because riding off that PGA, the nostalgia of it all, which is just pouring money down the drain.
Yeah, it was. The bosses were like, move his numbers. I'm like, no, I'm not moving his numbers. I'm going to continue to take all this Phil Mickelson bets because there's no chance. I go, if he wins, then you can take it out of my salary for the rest of until I pay back the money we win. I knew he would. First of all, the U.S. Open is his kryptonite, so I wasn't scared of him being that. I mean, this course supposedly in his backyard, but his backyard must have full of dog poop because he can't play well in his backyard. So I was not worried of Phil Mickelson. I was more worried of John Rahm just because I figured he might come out a little PO because for him not taking a COVID shot cost him $1.8 million for the tournament he should have won. So I figured he might come out red hot and a little PO'd. So I'm hoping he continues a good tournament.
What do you think about Brooks Koepka? I mean, he's won it a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, if he wins it, even if DeChambeau wins it for some odd reason, you got to give those two credit for all the scrutiny they're coming into this with their beef and is this good for golf and still to be focused to play some nice rounds day after day. I got to give him credit for keeping his mind straight on to the goal instead of worrying about what all the media wants to talk about. I mean, they've had offers to fight celebrity boxing, these two. I've heard multiple companies say that they're offering $10 million for both fighters to get in, golfers to get in, and they can choose charity instead of accept that money. So this storyline is not going to go away.
No. All right. So let me ask you, Darren and I talked about this at the top of the show. I do legitimately think and believe that they don't care for each other. I think we all agree with that. But don't you kind of also feel like they've decided, hey, look, yeah, we don't like each other, but we're going to milk this sucker as much as we can and just squeeze all the dough that we can out of it?
As one of my famous wrestlers in the 90s, Stone Cold would say, hell yeah. I mean, they probably text through people and say, hey, you know what? I hate you. You hate me. Let's milk this because we're going to get more attention than whoever wins the U.S. Open, whoever has more green jackets. If Tiger Woods can never drive again, this is going to be the topic for probably for a couple of years.
Why you got to throw the Tiger shot in there, man? The guy got the car wreck.
It's true because no one's talking about the U.S. Open's missing Tiger or how's Tiger doing? He's walking. You haven't heard not one peep because you want to talk about will these guys ever do a photo bomb in an interview or will one guy throw his water jug? And you haven't heard a Tiger peep because we all want to talk about this feud.
And it's good for golf.
It is. It's 100% because how are you going to break away from the Tiger stories that we've been sucked down for the past 20 years, then throw in a beef that let him fade away?
Mm-hmm. Well, Tiger, it's 13, right? The last one he won was 2008. So 13 years since Tiger Woods won a U.S. Open. Is that correct?
Something like that.
That seems strange. That just seems strange. That doesn't seem possible. But it is true. I know he never had a runner-up finish. Right. So he hasn't even been on Sunday, one of the final. Well, I know he didn't win it, but he hasn't been a final 2 or 3 guy on Sunday either that I can remember. He's been a non-factor in the U.S. Open for over a decade, basically, is what I'm getting at.
That I do know for the U.S. Open, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anybody off the grid a little bit? Again, let me kind of throw out who's at the top, Oosthuizen and Henley. But you got Molinari, Rahm, Koepka, Schauffele, Patrick Reed, Cantlay, Rory, big names, all at 1 under, or all under par, I should say, not all at 1 under. And then you got some of the other big names kind of lurking. DJ, DeChambeau, both 2 over. DJ's 2 over through 6 today, so not off to a good sharp start, but they're all within 5 or 6 shots of this sucker. Is there somebody else that we're omitting?
I think Paul Casey could be interesting. In fact, when I look at the leaderboard, all I'm looking at is next to the name, their flag, because I bet non-U.S. player wins the U.S. Open at plus money, because all the money was coming in on Mickelson, all the money was coming in on Koepka and DeChambeau, U.S. golfers. I'm like, hey, a non-U.S. golfer is going to win this on Father's Day Sunday, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a non-USA flag next to the winner, and I'm looking pretty good right now with Bland, Houston, Molinari, Bello, Rahm. So I'm sitting pretty good, but again, some of these golfers just finished their first round and it's Friday.
Mm-hmm. Let me throw this out there, by the way. Phil 4 over, and he'll tee off at 4:36 this afternoon. But how about this? This is a little surprising to me. I thought it would be lower. The projected cut line right now is at 2 over par.
Wow.
That's it. 2 over. Now, I'm sure that's going to drop back. Maybe a shot, maybe 2, maybe. But generally, that's much lower. Am I incorrect? It wasn't only a couple of years ago. We're talking about 6, 7 over was the cut line, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and there's some big names on there. If the cut was around there, Casey, Matuzama, Leishman. I mean, there's some big names that could be on my couch watching soccer and playoff NHL and stuff like that. We might throw some golf in, but there's a lot of big stuff on this weekend.
It's also a smaller field. It's a smaller cut line.
Yes.
So the line won't move as much, and there's a ton of guys packed between 2 over and like 2 under.
3, plus 3 is a lot of big golfers on there. I mean, Victor Hovland's on there. So yeah, there's a lot of golfers that are plus 3 that I think it's going to go 4 if I had to guess.
I'm with you. I agree. I just can't see that saying it too. You're right. There's a lot of Woodland, Finau, Poulter. They're all at 3 over right now. Hovland's at 3 over. Leishman's at 3 over. You mentioned Paul Casey, right? Yeah, Paul Casey. He's at 3 over. I'll tell you who's under all that though is Darren's new favorite golfer, Christian Bezuidenhout. That's so close. Bezuidenhout. We learned that when the PGA Championship was in town. All right, Raphael, who wins the College World Series?
Well, I got a little excited and I wet my pants a little as I was listening to you guys before, because you guys mentioned 2 West Coast teams.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And it hurt me. It actually hurt my heart, which is still not 100%. And I almost just canceled because I didn't want it because my chest was hurting. That you never seen Stanford play since a couple weeks ago. Are you serious? You've not watched Stanford play since a couple weeks ago? There's my proof that's West Coast bias. You have not watched Stanford in a couple of weeks, but I like them the way I think their bullpen is set up, really dominant. They have bats all over the place, and they play. You know what? Something they don't play what you guys play. They play a lot of small ball. Push the runner over, steal, maybe steal. They do a lot of small ball, and I think small ball could win this College World Series. I don't think we're going to see the powerful bats that we see with Tennessee and stuff like that. I think small ball wins, and I won't be shocked that my Stanford ticket at 15-1, I'm cashing.
So. That's true. Stanford does play a lot of small. That's what the West Coast does. But they can also play a little gorilla ball when they need to. Let me ask you. I'm asking you a legitimate question, even though I'm going to laugh when I ask it. Where in the hell was I going to watch Stanford play anything? They weren't on TV all year.
You have a computer, don't you? I watch a lot of my stuff on computer. Streaming.
Not staying up till 10 o'clock tonight to start a Stanford baseball game.
Why not? Put some Eric Church on or whatever you want to listen to.
I do that, but I'm not watching Stanford at 10 o'clock.
Pour yourself a nice bourbon. Put the kids to bed.
Kyle Peterson is offended.
Kyle Peterson?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's fine. I like Kyle Peterson, by the way. I think he's the best in the business.
Yeah.
He's the best in the business. And Chris Burke and Ben McDonald. But to your point though, all right, so Stanford, Arizona's intriguing as well, though. Like, really intriguing because they can flat out swing it. And, like, Darren and I were talking about this yesterday, and we just talked to Tony Skole a bit ago, who would know as well as anybody what it takes to get to Omaha. Yeah, pitching beats good hitting this time of the year. There's no question.
Mhm.
And with everybody that Vanderbilt went through in the SEC this year, the loaded SEC, it's referenced right here in Omaha, and it was in the Super Regionals. This is going to surprise you, Mr. Esparza, so just hold on to your seat. Don't fall over. We need you for another 5 minutes. I don't know. I don't know that Vanderbilt saw any offense in the SEC that was as good as Arizona's.
No. I mean, some of the offense out in the West, I mean, Gonzaga had good offense. So UCLA hit late, even though they couldn't make it far. But, yeah, I agree on that one. But if there's an SEC team that wins it all, I'm doing the Cowbells. I think it's Mississippi State. I think they could be the sleeper.
Good for you. That would mean Chris Lemonis could bring that trophy home. Yeah, I look, they're really good. Tennessee's really good. I mean, but we talked about this yesterday too. Darren and I did, and we just talked to Tony about it. I asked him specifically who was best set up to win this, not who's going to win it. Vanderbilt's best set up to win it, Raphael.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's nobody out there that has either one of any. Well, that's not true. Texas has Ty Madden, and he's probably a top 10, top 15 draft pick. But nobody has that 1-2 punch. They win the first two. They don't play till next Friday. And guess what? You see those two again.
Yeah, but if one of them have a hiccup, then you're in trouble because I don't think their bullpen is as powerful as other teams that are in the College World Series. I mean, that's why they're a minus 170 against Arizona. That tells you right there that the odds makers know that the Arizona can swing the bats. Because if this is any other maybe opening team that Vanderbilt has to go against, they're a $2 favorite. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If they're playing, let's say, Virginia or even Mississippi State, they're going to be a minus $2 favorite. The odds makers are telling you right there that the Arizona bats could be bothersome. That's why they're not $2.
Yeah, Rocker. I mean, this is a big deal for him. He hasn't slid in the draft at all, but there are some like high school kids who are projected higher than him now for whatever reason. I have no idea, but he can make somebody's decision very, very difficult by putting on a show. Both him and Jack Leiter in Omaha, Nebraska. They can make a lot of money over the next week and a half up there, both of them.
Yeah, and you got to look at West Coast, Arizona, Stanford. They take pitches. They're not usually first ball swingers. So if they put the pitch counts high, then again, you're working at totally different. So it's going to be very interesting. I mean, of course, I think Vanderbilt wins against Arizona. I just think they have just too much starting pitching. But it's going to be a very interesting series.
I'll back up your point, though. I'm with you. Vandy does have great arms in the bullpen. However, if you had to choose, Mississippi State, led by Landon Sims, is really good. Really good. That part of their staff is just tremendous. So we'll keep our eyes on it. I think this is really neat, though. Tennessee and Vanderbilt are in separate brackets. You could have the Volunteer State playing for the national championship, maybe.
Yeah. That's not at all what Raphael wants to see. That's approximately the last thing he would want to see.
What do you want to see? Do you want to see Texas and Stanford or Arizona?
I want to see Stanford. I want to see them in the College World Series. I don't think Arizona has enough pitching to make it. I mean, They have bats. If they're there, that means they were winning like 9 to 8 games or something like that. Type of games, but I think Stanford can be a very interesting team that can surprise a lot of so-called SEC dominance.
All right, go ahead with your soccer stuff. What's going on in the FIFA or whatever it is?
UEFA.
Euroka.
The biggest sport.
Alfalfa.
The biggest sport in the world.
Yeah, that one.
TV ratings up 15 to 20%. I mean, it's all about.
Speaking of soccer, is the men's national team ever going to qualify for another World Cup, or are they just going to?
No, we don't need. I'm tired of people saying, "Oh, the U.S. men's team stinks." They do stink, but you know who's dominant? The women's team. Why don't you watch more women's soccer? I will watch a USA women's soccer match. I'll watch a rerun of a match before I watch a live U.S. men's. Unless the USA is playing Mexico, because something crazy is going to happen if USA is playing Mexico. But it's they're getting better. The younger kids are starting to come back and play for the national team and not just staying overseas and play and grab that money. I tell people if you have kids, teach them soccer. Don't teach them football. Don't teach them basketball, because you can get your kids $1 million at age 10 and ship them off to Barcelona and Spain and get that money early while they go to school before they kick a ball around.
Do you have to take theater in order to play soccer or no?
See, this you have to realize the key to soccer is you don't have a timeout or a substitute because you have a pull. If you can't play, then you're shorthanded for the rest of the game. So the goal of their game is to get maybe a red card on a guy, and now you have to play with 10 men for the rest of the 50 minutes. You know how many times people score when they're playing with 10 men? Almost 60 to 50, 65% of the time, so the other team will score if the other team's playing 10 men.
Well, I'm with you. I don't really watch it, but I will watch when the women are in it. I always watch the women because they're good. The men suck, so I don't watch them.
They stink. I agree, but they're getting better. I won't say they suck. They stink.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Semantics on this Friday.
Yeah, it's
gold jacket, green jacket.
Yeah.
I will say when I was in, believe it or not, high school, senior year of high school, going into college, a girl that I grew up with who played soccer at our high school, went and played at Clemson. She was dating Bobby Convey. We met him. Interesting guy. Remember him?
I do remember him. Yes, I do.
Very interesting human being. Nice guy. Just a little off. Kind of like all of us, I guess, right? All right, so do you want to give us an odd on one of these games, or what? Who? France and Hungary. France is a 1.5 goal favorite in that one.
Keep an eye on for the Netherlands, the Dutch, to Holland. The only team that has 3 names when they're playing, as the announcers were saying, Dutch, Holland, Netherlands. I think they could. Their orange jerseys can host up the trophy at the end of it. They have speed, their strength, and their goalie play. I think they're going to be a sleeper. I would love to see France continue to play well and stuff like that. But I'm going to put my orange jersey on whenever they play. I have a Netherlands orange jersey on, so I love wearing it because I love watching them play.
Jamie doesn't wear orange or drink anything orange or have anything orange. It's almost illegal in his house.
It is, actually. Yeah, it is outlawed here.
No orange juice?
Not really. I've had to correct my mother-in-law on a few things that she's bought for my kids. I'm like, hey, whoa. No. What are we doing here?
Isn't Clemson have orange in their jerseys?
They do.
Point.
Yeah. A lot of orange, isn't it?
Thank God you're not a Tennessee Vols fan, then.
Yeah, we have a neighbor. He's a nice guy. That's okay. All right, so there you go. That you've got it. There's the Alfalfa 2021 odds. MyBookie.ag, or I'm sorry, UEFA Euro 2020.
UEFA or UEFA? There you go.
There you go.
All right. MyBookie.ag, 50% sign-up bonus up on your first $1,000 if you've never done it. Hey, man, we just like picking on you, but we love you. That's why we have you every single week forever. Just remember, football season is only a couple of months away.
I don't care about football season right now. We got Copa America tournament. You got UEFA. You got NHL playoffs. You got the NBA playoffs. My Cubs are in first place. I mean, I could give a rat's booty about college football and NFL around the corner.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about the NBA next week. Okay.
Hey, I put up some CP3 COVID odds the other day. I look at your inbox later. I have some Taylor Swift betting odds coming your way. Yeah, Taylor Swift. You know you're a big fan of Taylor Swift.
Why are we betting on Taylor Swift?
Because she's rumors about a new album coming out. So I'm like, hey, why not? So I got some interesting Taylor Swift odds coming up. So you know me. What else is there to do except sitting on a couch and watching sports?
Thank God football season's coming around the corner.
I'm getting a very bad static right now. I think I better go.
All right, brother.
Later.
Take it easy, guys.
On Twitter at VSI Doc Sports. Power Hour coming up to end the work week right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
Mike Morgan here for Gamecock Traditions. Baseball is going strong. You'll want to look sharp when you cheer on your Gamecocks. Under Armour, New Era, sideline hats, all with interlocking SC Baseball logo. 18 styles of $10 tees exclusively at Gamecock Traditions. Get on that email list by going to the bottom of the page, enter your email, and always be the first to know about new items as they arrive. You can also add a little Gamecock flair with house signs, garden flags, interior and yard decorations, only at one place, Gamecock Traditions.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Bourbon and whiskey drinkers of Charleston. Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks in the Low Country. This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next pour. PaddockandWhiskey.com. Let not your heart be troubled. Paddock and Whiskey is here for your next double. We're all friends around here. Paddock and Whiskey, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
Final hour of the work week. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Make sure you've downloaded the JB and Goldwater app. It is free. And make sure you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater across all platforms and at Sports Media JB at Darren Goldwater on Twitter. 843-321-8893 is our phone number. It is also our text line. What a great day for a cheesesteak. DBsCheesesteaks.com. If you're going to be anywhere in the West Ashley area or you're anywhere close, you want them to deliver it to you. All delivery apps, DB's Cheesesteaks, they're on them. Don't forget the boardwalk fries. And if you're going to be in Mount Pleasant or on Daniel Island, where would you rather spend the evening than the Dog and Duck, guys? I mean, that's where Darren spends every evening.
In fact, there were folks betting on soccer there yesterday and betting on the U.S. Open because they've got all these TVs in there. So you can watch whatever you want. And if it's a multi-TV weekend like this weekend, the College World Series, the U.S. Open, just go hang out at the Dog and Duck. It's rib night tonight, too. $2 and all their shrimp baskets goes to the shrimper. Is that the right word? Who lost the shrimp boat when his net got tied up and sunk?
Yeah.
$2 every basket going that way right now, too.
They have great fried shrimp.
Yeah, they do.
I may add. It's awesome fried shrimp. Dog and Duck. Make sure you check out their menu. If you've never been there, we know a lot of you go there all the time. Thank you very much. We do as well. And we're certainly glad to be partners with the Dog and Duck. By the way, some quick news here. The 12-team proposal for the college football playoff will move forward into a period of discussion with, quote, key constituent groups. I don't know. More meetings this summer before it can be officially approved, but it certainly seems like that is where it is heading. We're going to talk to JC Shurburtt about that coming up in about 10 minutes. We'll take an early break, and then we'll finish our work week with the owner of thebigspur.com. A lot to get to on the Gamecock side of things as well. Huge recruiting weekend. Bunch of 5-stars, by the way, on campus in Columbia this weekend. Speaking of recruiting, Clemson just picked up a 4-star commitment. His name has already escaped me. But coming into today, Clemson was 23rd in the 24/7 Sports recruiting rankings. So that's going to give them a little bit of a boost. I believe that will give them 7 total commitments in their program. And we'll see where that jumps the Tigers to. Ohio State is number 1 in the 2022 football team rankings. None of these matter right now as it is the middle of the summer. Nobody's been able to get out until June. Over the next couple of months, things will really start to kind of iron themselves out. So again, coming into today, Clemson was 23rd. South Carolina was 42nd. Those numbers going to drastically change for both programs over the next 30 days or so. All right, it is time for Buy or Sell. Buy or Sell on the JB and Goldwater show is presented in part by our friend Jeff McCarriger with Carolina One Real Estate here in the low country of South Carolina. If you're buying or if you're selling, you could be sold on this. You better have a realtor that knows what they're doing with your dollars, and we certainly trust Jeff with ours. We don't want a realtor for a transaction. No, no, no. You want one for a lifetime because real estate is a lifetime decision. Jeff McCarriger would be a lifetime friend. Jeff.McCarriger at Carolina1.com. His phone number. Put this in your phones now. Do it right now. Just for, even if he's going to be a player to be named later in your real estate transaction log, 843-834-7455. 843-834-7455. Buy or sell. It's a mix of baseball and golf. That is what is popular this weekend. I know that the FIFA alfalfa thing is ongoing, but
Euro 2021. Just think Europe and go Euro.
You are so beautiful.
Or that.
Yeah. Well, that's the Little Rascals. That's all I think about when I think about the FIFA, Falfa, whatever.
Okay.
Eurifo. I'm not a soccer guy, so we're going to get into golf and baseball. All right, buying or selling Vanderbilt starting the College World Series 2-0. I'm buying that. I mean, you're going to have to prove it to me that you can beat both Rocker and Leiter. I don't see it. I know that Arizona really can swing the sticks. I know NC State is hot. I know Stanford is hot. They're in a dangerous part of the bracket because Vanderbilt is I think when I look at this bracket, I know much more about bracket 2. Probably geography plays a part in that because Tennessee and Mississippi State and Virginia are in it. And I've seen all of them play in Texas, seen them play as well. But Vanderbilt's on a tricky side, no question. But I mean, dude, just like Tony Skole said a while ago, good pitching. In this case, great pitching can beat great offense. I'm a buyer of Vandy being 2-0.
It's hard not to, right? I'm going to go sell, though, just simply because I don't think a favorite is going to win this College World Series. I don't have a great logic behind it. I'm just not throwing my money on the favorite. If I'm going Vanderbilt on the field, I'm going to go the field. And if they start 2-0, then my bet looks a lot worse. So I'm going to say one of them loses. And if I had to bet, it's Rocker.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for thinking that. Let's just throw this stat out there. Only once ever has the, quote, favorite won the College World Series. The favorite would be by seed, which is the 1 seed. And that happened the very first year that they seeded them in the Super Regional round. Miami did it in 1999. So, I mean, look, you can argue a couple of other years here and there. I mean, back in 2011 when Carolina won it, when they got back to Omaha, they were certainly a favorite to win it simply because they'd won it in 2010. And I could come up with a couple of other cases. Florida was a pretty popular pick in 2017. I'm just, in seeing both of those guys a lot over the last couple of years, I'm not going to get cute with this. I think that Vanderbilt definitely starts 2-0. Bryson DeChambeau finishes ahead of Brooks Koepka. Buying or selling? That's a major sell for me. Brooks Koepka shows up when it's time for the majors, and he is 2 under par. He'll tee off at 4:14 this afternoon. DeChambeau, although he is 2 under today,
3 under now, and 4 under in his last 4 holes.
Okay, so he's now at 1 under for the tournament.
That's right.
He's still streaky to me, and that's what always scares me about Bryson DeChambeau. You can fall apart in a hurry. I'm going to sell that. Brooks Koepka finishes ahead of Bryson.
I'm buying. I think it's DeChambeau who finishes ahead of Koepka. So I'm buying that one and selling the Koepka, obviously, finishes ahead of DeChambeau. I think DeChambeau he beat things up at the range after his round yesterday. That worked for him when he did that at Whistling Straits. It's a similar course, as Scott Glaze has said many times.
True.
I think DeChambeau finishes ahead of Koepka, who I think will struggle today. And I think they'll either flip today or they'll be paired together this weekend, which is what I hope the most.
Oh, that would be tremendous. I mean, right now, let's see, at 2 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's a ways to go, but could that realistically happen? Absolutely. They're within a shot.
Mm-hmm.
This field will separate itself a little bit as the day goes along, but right now that cut line still sits at 2 over. But remember, it's 10:15 in the morning out there.
They just started.
So they're just getting underway. All right, buy or sell. The U.S. Open champion will be a first-time major champion. That is a really, really fascinating question. I'm gonna buy that.
Yep.
I'm gonna buy that. You know, I like the guys who have the experience in major championships. There's no question. But, you know, if you look at the most recent history, and I'd have to really go back and study it for all 4 majors, but the recent history for the U.S. Open, DeChambeau, Woodland, Koepka, DJ, Spieth, who, by the way, Spieth might not even make the cut right now, and maybe not even DJ for that matter. Justin Rose is not going to make the cut. Neither is Webb Simpson. Rory will. All right, those are some of the biggest names in golf. There is no doubt about that. But I have severe doubts about Bryson DeChambeau and being able to do this, although he has done it. And Koepka, of course, has been there, done that. I get it. But when you list, in my opinion, these 3 names or 4 names versus the field, I'm going to go with the field on this one. I think somebody who hasn't won one might sneak up and get one on Father's Day.
I said it yesterday. I think Xander Schauffele will be in the mix. I think Tony Finau is going to be in the mix. I think John Rahm is going to be in the mix. None of those guys have won a major. I think it will be a first-time major champ.
That is really surprising to think about that. Those are some of the best names in golf.
Mm-hmm. Haven't cracked through.
No,
they're knocking on the door. And hey, maybe it's Mount Pleasant's Russell Henley. He's never won a major. He's at the top right now.
All by himself as well. He'll tee off. He hasn't even teed off, and he's still in the lead all alone at 4 under par. 4:03 tee time Eastern today. A 67 is what Henley came through the door with yesterday. A shot ahead of Richard Bland from England, South Africa's Louis Oosthuizen, Dylan Wu, he's an American, Frankie the Assassin, the Italian, at 3 under, and Rafa Cabrero Bello from Spain, all at 3 under right now. So a very diverse group of golfers at the top of the leaderboard. Again, Koepka is at 2 under. So is Xander Schauffele, and John Rahm, who is 8 under or through 8 today. Koepka is not on the course. Neither is Schauffele, but they will be later on this afternoon. That is buy or sell, again, presented by our friend Jeff McCarriger with Carolina One Real Estate. Jeff.McCarriger at carolina1.com. I can spell it 2 F's, 2 C's, and 2 R's. McCarragher. Jeff.McCarriger at carolina1.com. 843-834-7455. Okay, it is time for our final time out of the work week. Yeah, I know, it's 1:18, but we'll fly to Chicago, Illinois next, and that is where we'll find one J.C. Shurburtt, generally joining us on Wednesdays, owner of thebigspur.com. We'll tap in on the final day of our work week to discuss the college football playoff scenarios, the future, and, of course, a major weekend in Columbia for Gamecock football. All that next on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump? Strike two! If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, it's Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to VCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes Speed Dub.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right. Local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All three locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
Your online radio. The new online radio that makes you happy.
I got honeybees on my screen door. I got a little buzz in my head. So. Cause we come from a long line of sinners like me.
And you were listening to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
Don't cry for me when I'm gone. Just put a quarter in the jukebox.
There's nothing on Father's Day weekend that will make me prouder as a father than when I turn on Eric Church when we ride around on the golf cart and my kids just pump their fist the whole time. It is the greatest blessing that I could have ever dreamed of. I can't believe that what I taught them stuck. Hey, JC, how you doing, brother?
Good to be with you guys on a Friday. It's Friday. So that's it's nice to be on JB at Goldwater to wrap up the week.
Well, I want to make sure that we collectively wish all of the dads out there an amazing Father's Day weekend. I have learned quickly, as Darren, you have known for a while, JC, you know quite well. Although it's neat to have your birthday come and go every year. Father's Day is much more meaningful when you become one than your birthday. So it is to me, at least. So happy Father's Day to everybody.
God, happy Father's Day to both of you guys. I know you guys will have a nice deal. Up where I'm at, I can kind of relax. I don't, I'm not getting any gifts. I'm not a father, but the two kids that occupy the same dwelling that I'm in, they're at their dad's this weekend. So it's a good deal. All my brothers are fathers, so I'll be talking to them and wishing them the best with all they've got on their hands every single day.
It can be Uncle Weekend too.
Uncle Weekend. I don't know. It's going to be relaxing regardless, I think.
Well, and speaking of that, my uncle Larry, who's been in the Gamecock Club, he is our reason for lifelong suffrage. But he has been in the Gamecock Club for 55 years, and today is his 80th birthday.
Wow.
The greatest Gamecock that ever lived, in my opinion, is
no doubt
my Uncle Larry. So I wish him the happiest of birthdays. I'll be calling him. I don't know if he's watching or listening from the shop today, but if he is, we'll talk to you in a little while. All right, JC, we're going to talk to you right now. Right now. We have some recruiting to get to for South Carolina. And I do want to ask you about the column you've got up on thebigspur.com for folks who haven't read it. Do it. About what others have said to Athlon Sports about Carolina football. I found that it just goes to show you that, just because somebody's a big-time head coach or something, they really don't sometimes know what they're talking about. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get there. But first, let's get to the college football playoff stuff. It does appear that this is going to go now to the management committee, the board of managers, I think June 22nd, the 12-team playoff recommendation, and then it'll go into the summer. But it looks like this is headed towards being approved, the 12-team playoff, JC. So your initial thoughts?
All right, so there's kind of two tracks as far as my thinking goes here. The first track is I wasn't clamoring for a playoff expansion. I always, when you look back through the history of the game, there was never really a situation we were in where one game would not have solved it. It did drive me crazy back when you'd had, like in 2004, an undefeated Auburn team go undefeated and dominate most of the way, and they didn't even get a shot at the national title. Yeah. That bothered me. It bothered me when you would have split titles, the Michigan farce of a title in 1997. If Michigan had played that Nebraska team, I think they would have lost by about 4 touchdowns. But they had to split the title. The University of Washington and Miami split a title one time. Georgia Tech in 1990 split a title with a team that had lost one, tied one, and won a game on a 5th down. Just because Colorado beat Notre Dame by 1 point in the Orange Bowl. So, look, that drove me insane. So I was thankful for the playoff. But, never thought it really needed to go past 4. Did I agree that it's set up for the same teams to make it year after year after year? Yes, to a certain extent. I think that you look at it and you look at the committee and how they sort of had a BCS mindset with, if you have 1 loss or no losses, that's better than 2, no matter who you've really played. Thus, a Notre Dame team gets in that's not competitive, et cetera, et cetera. And that was fine. But I thought that, rather than, let's change the rules, I think that's up to Florida State or North Carolina to topple Clemson, or Texas to topple Oklahoma, or Baylor, or whoever, or it's up to Auburn or LSU or Texas A&M or Georgia to beat Alabama. I'm not for everybody gets a trophy here, but I am much more in favor of this 12-team deal than an 8-team deal, because my fear with an 8-team deal would be, you got the 5 Power 5 conference winners, and then you put a group of 5 team in there, and you got a group of 5 team that's played nobody. Maybe you get an App State that's 12-0, their best wins over a 7-5 NC State team, and then the rest is just garbage, and they get in over a team, let's say Texas A&M, LSU, and Alabama are all really good, and A&M's lost by 3 points to Bama and 2 points to LSU. They don't get to play for the SEC title. That team sitting there at 10-2 dominated everybody else. Are you telling me they don't deserve to go above an App State team, which would have gotten boat raced by the teams that Texas A&M's played and probably not even finished 500? Absolutely. So that's what bothered me about 8, is that, the group of 5 is still sitting there at the trough. I've always thought group of 5 needed its own playoff. I still believe in that. I still think that, that is a different level of football. And no matter how hard they try or how much they want to be in the mix, they're not as good. Now, with the 12-team playoff, though, this gives them a chance, guys. I mean, we could have years where you have a conference championship game upset, or you have a weak conference champion, and you have 2 really good group of 5 teams that are in the top 10, and they will make it over the Power 5 conference champion because it's not automatic. It's not the Power 5 automatically get in. It's the 6 highest rated conference champions. So, maybe Group of 5 won't be its own level anymore, and they can get in and have that access. And so I like it from that standpoint. I also like it from a South Carolina standpoint because it's infinitely harder to win the SEC championship than it is to contend in the SEC East and be one of the top 10 teams in the country. South Carolina's done that. Yeah, you do the sketching out of it using the final BCS rankings after the championship games. South Carolina makes the playoff in 2011. They make the playoff in 2012. They make the playoff and have a home game in 2013. So that's been done. And if you're the Gamecocks, and from the sources I've talked to within the program, they're thrilled about this because it brings like the goal. I mean, it makes the goal more attainable to get into that top 12 when you're in the SEC than having to depend on, a magical year where everything breaks your way. And then even then you still may not get in. So I think if you're South Carolina, if you're Auburn, if you're Texas A&M, if you're Georgia, if you're Florida, you're fired up. Anybody in the SEC, you're fired up about this because – man, you don't even have to, you get a bad draw from the other division and, like Carolina did those 3 years and somebody else wins the division, you still are right there in the top group of teams and you still make the playoff and have a chance to contend for a national title. So those are the positive aspects of it. I wasn't a big playoff expansion proponent, but 12 to me, I can live with a lot more than 8.
I mean, I think there are definitely some pros and cons. I know the face of this thing, Bill Hancock. I don't know how much he actually influences anything.
None.
But he is nice guy. I've talked to him.
His job is to repeat the company line until the company line changes. I mean, he's the guy that said no playoff right before there was a playoff. So, and he's a heck of a guy. I've been in
great guy
press conferences with him, but his job is to be like. Less than truthful.
Nothing. A spokesperson. That's right.
Yep.
Follow the cue cards.
Yeah.
So, but he has just stated a little while ago that they'll continue to quote kind of kick the tires. So I'm sure there are some things they're going to say. Well, let's look at this a little bit closer. Maybe the home field advantage for teams 5 through 8. But if you're 1 through 4, you don't get that. Notre Dame, of course, Swarbrick signed off on it and things like that. Let me go back to something you said though. And let's put a name to the face, just like you did, so we can make this a little bit more realistic. But if you're not a South Carolina fan, if you're a Kentucky fan, if you're a Tennessee fan, insert name where appropriate. Just understand the premise of what I'm getting at here. What I hear you saying, JC, and I agree with this, because of the league, and I would bring the Big Ten into this conversation as well currently.
Mm-hmm.
That essentially, if you are not the conference champion of both those leagues is going to be in, period. But if you are not the conference champion, let's say you're South Carolina in the East or you're Nebraska in the whatever the hell they call that now. Is it still the Legends or is it the West?
No, they it's normal directional things now.
East and West, yeah.
is it still the janitors and the street sweepers or so? But what I'm hearing is if you're South Carolina and you win the East, you're probably in. I mean, you're not going to win the East if you got 3 losses in the league. That's not happening. 2, maybe. They did do that in 2010, but JC, those days are over.
That's rare.
That's very rare. And those days,
rare.
But they also beat Alabama that year in Florida on their home field. So. But if you win the East, if you're Nebraska and you win the West, but you just happen to not win, there's not a direct correlation, but there's kind of a direct correlation. Like now, basically, you win your division in these 2 leagues specifically because of the strength of them. You have a phenomenal shot to be in a 12-team college football playoff.
Absolutely. And even if you're in the other division, like I said,
insert name where appropriate.
Let's go like Auburn in 2017, right? So Auburn, they're the best team in the country for a month. They beat Georgia by 23. They beat Alabama by double digits on their both games at Jordan-Hare. running back gets hurt. Georgia beats them in the rematch 28-7. That 3-loss team is probably not out of the playoff. They're probably still right there in the top 12. Okay. So Auburn, they'll get their running back and they'll get a shot rather than going to the Peach Bowl uninspired against a UCF team that's, out for blood and wanting to claim national championships and losing. Auburn has a chance to continue to go on. I think some of these Georgia teams, like the 2018 Georgia Bulldogs,
absolutely,
they lose late to Alabama, in the championship game, and that sucks, and it knocks them out. I mean, there's only been one time that two teams from the same league have even made it, if I'm not mistaken, and that's, well, this past year technically Notre Dame and Clemson were ACC, both of them. But that's not, Notre Dame's not normally an ACC team, and they get preferential treatment. We all know that. But, and that was Bama and Georgia back in 2017, and, they made the championship. But there's so many teams that are good that have gotten left out. TCU and Baylor, like the first playoff, right? Here's Ohio State. They got in by the skin of their teeth. And they won. I think they lost to Virginia Tech in the opener and then won out, right? I still remember Shane Beamer celebrating on the sidelines with his dad after that one in Columbus. But then they went out, 11-1, and they needed some help, and they got in over TCU and Baylor, who tied for the Big 12. Big 12 didn't have a championship game at the time, and they got it shortly thereafter. But are you telling me that if that was Texas and Oklahoma that tied for the Big 12, that one of those two teams wouldn't have gotten in? Maybe both. Right. I don't know. I don't know the answer there. So it helps and look, TCU and Baylor would have probably given somebody hell in that year. Those Mississippi and Mississippi State teams that were really good middle part of the decade, they would have gotten in. Dak Prescott, and then when Ole Miss had Swag Kelly and Hugh Freeze was winning there, those two teams were ranked in the top 5 at some point and finished pretty good. Ole Miss beat Alabama, things like that. So those teams would have gotten in. And going back to the Big Ten, we had I think one of those years Penn State won the Big Ten. They had 2 losses. They had lost to Pitt, or I think it was just 2016, and didn't get in the playoff. That Penn State team would have gone to the playoff.
Right.
Darren would have been very happy. So, I just you look at it, and it's very inclusive, and it also you look at the group of 5 teams, and you put the onus on them. You're like, all right, if you guys are good enough, if it's one of those years that Boise State is ranked higher than the Pac-12 champ, you guys are going to get in. And if you're a top 4 conference champ, like when I sketched it out in 2011, I think Boise State was, then you get a bye and all that good stuff. Or somebody's going to come to Boise in December, for a first round game. And I think that makes it good. Now, do they have some things to figure out? Yes. Do they have to, are they going to end up with the quarterfinals on college campuses and then we go semis and championship game like we do now in the bowls? Maybe. I don't know about that. I think at some point your Alabamas of the world are going to go, we never get a home playoff game, and you want that gate.
That's
you
right.
want that money. You want to be able to charge, extra for season tickets, because you can get playoff tickets and things like that. So I think all that has to kind of be figured out. But the format, to me, is much more inclusive. And if you're going to expand it, I think this is the most fair way to do it, while also keeping the bowls. Because I think if you go to 16, I think that may kill off the bowls, for all intents and purposes.
I agree. See, that's where I'm at, because I'm not against a larger playoff system because I love playoffs. Who the hell doesn't like playoffs? But I am in football. That's the big sticking point, is because there was a time Darren and I did a little exercise last year, and I was all for 16.
Mm-hmm.
But the bowl system, I do think it's valuable, and to think about the entire health of the sport, I think that's a large part of it. Let's throw a couple of other things in here, JC. I want to ask you about scheduling, but also let me throw this out there. I don't know how many people have thought about this, but just think about this for a second. it is very possible that major hated rivalries like Clemson and Carolina and others can play each other in a college football playoff, guys. Think about how great that would be for the sport. You got a 12 seeded South Carolina and a 5th seeded Clemson all of a sudden in the first round of a playoff or something like that, or Louisville, Kentucky, Florida State, whoever, I don't care. Auburn, Alabama, they literally could play and then a few weeks later play again in a playoff. I mean, I think that only helps this sport so much. It's not going to happen all the time, but it can. What about scheduling? What do you think this does for scheduling? Let me give you an example. Again, I'm using South Carolina as an example because I know it off the top of my head, but Darren, you can insert name wherever. Carolina this year is going to go to East Carolina. In 2033, they're going to App State. Why the hell would they play those games in the future? I mean, I don't know that there's any need for that.
Oh, I don't know what's going to happen by 2033. To be honest,
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. Here.
Scheduling those type of games. If you are a Power 5 program, what do you have to gain by scheduling those games?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if South Carolina ends up playing that one at App State. To be honest, now this East Carolina thing was part of like a 3-for-1 they scheduled when Skip Holtz was at East Carolina and Steve Spur was at South Carolina. That happens sometimes. They just kept putting it off. It was like a 2-1-1. And the Gamecocks have ended up getting a 4-1-1 out of it because they played in Charlotte one year and they've gotten 4 home games with ECU, including last year's that got rescheduled. So I don't know. We say that. And for South Carolina, I know that if I'm the Gamecocks, I'm not fired up about, scheduling a bunch of these. But honestly, South Carolina doesn't really have a lot of these scheduled. But I'll tell you, though, you look at other schools, right? Around the SEC, some of South Carolina's peer schools, even that you would call, and I'm going to just pull up the 2020 all right. So here's Missouri's future non-conference. Okay. They have a home and home with Memphis. They have a home and home with UMass. They have they have 2 home and homes with San Diego State. They have a home and home with Northern Illinois and DeKalb, Illinois, which is right down the road, which is a wormhole. Okay. They have a home and home with North Texas. They do play Kansas and Illinois home and home because those are border rivals, so to speak. But they go to Florida Atlantic. They go to North Texas. They go to Northern Illinois. They go to Miami of Ohio. And they go to Memphis. And they go to Middle Tennessee State.
Why?
I don't know. And so we sit there with the Gamecocks and we kind of, I kind of grumble about it, when these games are scheduled, like, why are you going to East Carolina and all that? But, that's kind of just sort of not as unusual as we think. Listen, Ole Miss is going, they got, a home and home with Wake Forest, which you can debate whether or not that should ever be scheduled. They have a home and home with Charlotte. They have a home and home with Oregon State. They're going to Corvallis in 2030, which I think, makes sense.
Let me hold on. Let me pause. Like I'm talking about in the future. When you expand the playoff, am I not thinking clearly here? I could understand home and homes, Power 5 programs that give you. I mean, I don't want to discount App State because they've been really pretty good, but like programs that would help you in the selection process. Why on earth would you schedule a home and home with a middle of the road at best Group of 5 program? Like if you're Penn State, Darren, why the hell would you schedule a home and home with Akron? And that does nothing for you, literally nothing.
There was a very interesting article, basically breaking down by percentage how many teams had 2 losses on average over the last 10 years at the end of the year. How many teams had 3 losses? And if you do this format of 12 teams, a pretty high percentage of 2-loss teams are going to be in the mix. So if you schedule an Akron, if you're Penn State, and you get a guaranteed win, if you want to call it that, then at least you didn't lose that game. And at least you're sitting there with better odds of being in contention at the end with fewer losses.
And I'll say this, I don't think, I don't think scheduling wise that this is a strategy South Carolina is going to undertake. Missouri's kind of weird. The Mississippi schools, honestly, traditionally, because I didn't even mention Mississippi State, they're playing Washington State, Tulane, Texas. I mean, But just look at a group of 5. There's a significant amount of group of 5 road games. Vanderbilt plays at Georgia State. Congratulations, Sean Elliott, for getting that one scheduled in a couple of years. I don't think South Carolina's going to go that direction. I think what you're going to see is, them continue to every so often play NC State and North Carolina. I think they'll get a West Virginia on the schedule at some point. They've got Miami and Virginia Tech coming up. And I think you're going to see it like that. But if you're talking about some of the elite programs around the league, now let me just throw this out at you. The Georgia Bulldogs, right? These guys, I don't know whether it's arrogance or what, but let me just read you off the non-conference games in 2028 and 2029 for Georgia. 2028, they go at Texas. They have Florida State at home, and then the game against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's not going to be down forever, by the way. 2029, they play Texas at home. They go at Clemson and at Georgia Tech. In 2030, they play Clemson, Ohio State, and Georgia Tech all between the hedges. And in 2031, at Ohio State, Oklahoma at home, and at Georgia Tech. Now, okay, so if the committee completely changes its mind and says, okay, well, if you're 8-4, but you played a lot of great teams, you're going to be in the top 12. That's one thing. But do we really think that after Darren just said that about 2 losses or less?
No, that's not happening.
Do we really think that, okay, Georgia, you can go lose all these close games and all that, and, you can go 7-5 and still make it because you had the guts to schedule these teams? No, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think there's an extreme. I think if you're Alabama, because Alabama has a season where they open at Notre Dame and then they play Ohio State in week 2. I think if you're Alabama, maybe you're kind of bored, and maybe that's fine, for you down the road. But I don't think that works all the time. And I don't, as far as the group of 5 road games go, I'll say this: the only one South Carolina's played is UCF in 2013. And that game helped them tremendously, in terms of the final ranking, be number 4 in the country, because that's the only game UCF lost all year to the Gamecocks down there. And they whipped Baylor in the Fiesta Bowl. So, so that worked out. But you have to – you're right, JB, because you have to have something like that happen. You play a team from the group of 5 that's just a special year. For it to matter. So I think they'll buy their way out of the App State game. And I don't think you'll see, unless, I'll give you another scenario. Alabama's doing a 2-for-1 with USF. Yep. If it's a place like, okay, so Tampa, well, you want to recruit Tampa, and USF plays at Raymond James. So you can bring 15,000 fans, and it's not really a road game. Nice trip for your fans. I don't see that as a big problem as long as you're getting some value out of it, a 2-for-1 or whatever. Right. But I think that the group of 5 road games at Carolina are going to be a thing of the past. And I don't know what I don't know what Missouri's thinking. That road game in DeKalb, Illinois in a couple of years helps them none, and they may lose it. And then if you lose it, that's that, just like they lost to Wyoming a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, you have different tiers. I mean, if you're Alabama, if you're Clemson, if you're Ohio State, Notre Dame, whatever. I mean, those teams, they'll play anybody anywhere because they're the best teams in the country. But if you're one of those programs that is utilizing an expanded playoff to build your program or to help your profile or to sneak in there, playing a group of 5 middle of the road group of 5 game on the road, it makes 0 sense to me. I mean, I would say you either come here, because we have way more to lose by losing that weird tricky game on the road than we have to lose by playing, even an FCS program at home. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. If you're a South Carolina, I'm going to try to lump an expanded group in here. Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, from this area, like an Oregon State or a Washington State, a Maryland, those type teams that are like, hey, you know what? We could be ranked somewhere 5 through 12, maybe. Why the hell would you want to take any chance of going on the road and losing a group of 5? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I asked the question of where's scheduling going to go with this? Are they going to?
On the other hand, though, why would you schedule tough and risk a loss?
No, I'm not necessarily. That's what I'm saying. I'm not necessarily saying that, like, okay, Carolina will say, well, we're not going to schedule App State. Let's schedule Texas. But I'm wondering if, like, if instead of scheduling, I wonder if it goes the other way, which I would hope it doesn't. Like, if it goes the other way where they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Let's just play Furman and let's just go ahead and put the win under our belt. Like, I don't want it to go that way. So I'm just wondering where this is going to go.
So much depends on the committee. And if they continue to have the same mindset, which college football for 100 years has been much more about going undefeated and having limited losses no matter who you play, compared to playing a tough schedule, like as is the case with college basketball, where you can run up an RPI and have a 17-13 record, be an 8 seed in some cases. Right. It's football. It's always been, there have been landmark decisions based on this. Florida State joining the ACC instead of the SEC was one. Clemson being a better job for Tommy Bowden than Alabama. As Alabama was sniffing around Tommy, back then, he's not going to that. Why? Why beat your head against the wall at SEC West School B when you can be at Clemson and have a more clear path? Now, Tommy couldn't beat Wake Forest, but that's a different story. But you look at the Bowdens over the years, and they'll all tell you the same thing. I mean, that's why Florida State chose the ACC and not the SEC back in 92 and 91 when the expansion happened. Is they didn't want any. They're like, hey, we're really good at football right now, and we don't want 7-4. So that's the deal there. So when the mindset of the committee starts to be, well, we're going to reward teams that play tough schedules and rank them higher, then I think at that point, you start saying, all right, well, who can we play? Until then, South Carolina and that their scheduling philosophy, which right now appears to be, we're going to play Clemson. You're going to play one decent team other than Clemson non-conference, and then 2 teams you should beat. And that's the way it's been for a while. There's some years, like 2016 where they don't have a decent team. But, I think you stay on that path and don't overschedule because, what's going to happen is, they get to the point where because these other schools have gone crazy doing it, setting up all these home and homes. If they get to the point where we're 3 years into the 12-team playoff and they're rewarding teams with less losses over strength of schedule, they're going to start buying their way out of these games. Ohio State and Georgia are going to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't play, and that type of deal. So it's really fundamentally going to be up to the committee, and some schools have kind of hedged their bets and said, nah, strength of schedule is going to matter. So we'll see if that ultimately happens, because it hasn't before now. It has not before now. There's never been a 2-loss team in the playoff, conference champion or no. So it hasn't before now.
I think it will matter. I mean, you think about how many 2-loss teams there are every year. If you get a 10-2 Penn State, who their only losses are to Ohio State and Oklahoma, some crazy non-conference matchup, and then you have a 10-2 North Carolina, who got beat by, Wake Forest and Charlotte in an upset, but yet North Carolina also beat Miami, Florida State, and Clemson. How do you weigh that? I mean,
the data suggests that there really aren't by the end of the year that many 2-loss teams. So the odds with those few, I mean, if there's a couple in Group of 5 and smaller conferences, fine, and then you got a couple in the Power 5s, and the likelihood of a 2-loss Power 5 team getting in is pretty high.
Yeah, but that's before they started scheduling Ohio State and Alabama as a season opener. I mean, that's right. Right now, it's still a little different. So, we'll see kind of what happens. But I think that's largely up to how the committee ends up skinning it.
I personally think, I mean, the eye test will matter. But if you're a G5 team, even with the 12-team playoff, and you have 2 losses, you're out.
Oh, yeah. Power 5, the odds are good. A G5, you're done.
Correct.
Well, there will be one G5 that makes it, though, because there are only 5 Power 5 conferences, and the top 6 conference champions make it. So there will be the G5 has now a seat at the table. The only question is how many.
Yes.
And like if you look at last year, I don't know if this would have made a difference or not. Yeah, last year probably Coastal Carolina and Cincinnati both end up making the playoff. So we'd had all kinds of fun. We'd had Iowa State in the playoff. Indiana would have been in the playoff. There would have probably been maybe Northwestern makes it. I don't know. It's crazy because the Pac-12 champion was not ranked. So, yeah, so Cincinnati and Coastal would have both made it above Oregon, who won the Pac-12, and then there would have been no Pac-12 teams in it. So, and look, do I think that's fair? No. I mean, but last year was a weird year. You had some teams that played, 4 games. So, it's just one of those things.
I still think that all conferences should play 9, whatever number it is, but it should be uniform. 9 conference games. I'd rather see more conference games than less. That's just me personally. All right, JC, by the way, it's National Wanna Get Away Day. So wherever you feel like going, close your eyes. You're there. Congratulations. It's also National Go Fishing Day. Maybe those correlate for some folks out there. All right, final 4 minutes with you, and then we gotta let Eric Church take us into Father's Day weekend. Big weekend on campus in South Carolina. I understand there's quite a few 5-stars up there, as a matter of fact. Summarize what is happening with camp this weekend, and what do the Gamecocks expect out of it?
Well, it's 7-on-7 and offensive line, defensive line camp, and there's the 2023 player from Georgia whose name escapes me, is a 5-star prospect that's coming in tomorrow. He's a defensive lineman. 5-star D lineman Shamar Stewart, who's a top 5 player in the country. He's on campus right now. I don't know that the Gamecocks are going to get any traction based on what Hale reported. He's just kind of there with the 7-on-7 team competing. But a lot of unofficial visitors coming back in. There's a Jamari Lyons, a 4-star D tackle out of Melbourne, Florida, coming up for a 2-day unofficial, then coming back for an official visit next weekend. Traquan Fagans, who was scheduled to visit this weekend, visiting UCF. Instead, they pushed his back to next weekend to come in with that loaded group. So no official visitors on campus right now. As far as recruiting goes, all eyes are going to be on Kayron Prunty, the transfer from Kansas, who was a freshman All-American last year, visiting Tennessee this weekend. I'm told he may be willing to make it or wanting to make a decision after that visit. Carolina really needs him. He's eligible immediately and an outstanding player. And then on Sunday, Father's Day, high 3-star defensive lineman Jamal Weish from Miami. If you do yourself a favor, watch this kid's film. Very good get off, very good frame. He's supposed to announce a commitment. Looks like the Gamecocks there. So at least heading out of the weekend, South Carolina's commitment list should be up to 6 from the current 5, and who knows, maybe more.
Anybody else in the crystal ball predictions category in favor of South Carolina in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with some in Demetrius Watson, obviously the defensive tackle from down there at Fort Dorchester, where you guys are at, is a crystal ball projection for South Carolina. Nick Emanware, who is a safety, big linebacker, nickel type from Irmo. Crystal ball is in on him for South Carolina. Ryan Brubaker, the 4-star offensive tackle from Pennsylvania. Crystal ball's in on him. Got to watch Stanford a little bit, and Penn State still lurking, but I feel good about that pick heading out of his visit. One guy to maybe cross off or be hesitant that a crystal ball's in on is Chester linebacker Zan Dunham. He's worked out a couple of times. Not sure right now with other linebackers on the board where he fits in. Still could be a take, but they offered him early as sort of an evaluation offer to come to camp. He plays quarterback for the Cyclones. So not as confident that he ends up as part of this Gamecock class right now. But, certainly a lot of exciting things happening in recruiting. I wrote an article today on Big Spur. It's free. You don't have to be a subscriber to read it. 10 exciting things or 10 things to like about where South Carolina recruiting is right now. And I'll tell you, just in my professional opinion, it's surpassed my expectations so far in terms of the reaction and the quality of players. They have 23 scheduled official visits, guys. 16 of those rated 4 stars or better by 24/7 Sports Composite. That's just for 2022. 2023, there's been 5 stars and a lot of highly rated guys, especially in state, come through for that class as well. So Shane Beamer and company, recruiting wise, they're really, really doing well. Of course, you got to get these guys in the boat and sign them, but I have a feeling that'll be just around the corner.
In addition to that, we didn't get to it today, but we will next Wednesday. JC will rejoin us as he generally does midweek. But there's also a column up, a look at the anonymous coach quotes about the Gamecocks. Read that. And with JC's response to all of those, we don't know who said them, but very interesting read, certainly. And we'll touch on that next week, JC. And, of course, we'll get into a larger recap of what happens this weekend on campus in Columbia. Thank you so much, my friend. Really great to speak to you. I really appreciate you coming on with us today. I know we didn't get you in the middle of the week, but have a wonderful Father's Day weekend. God rest your dad's soul. Certainly, I know you think about him on Father's Day. So
absolutely,
we look forward to sharing more moments with that like that with you in the future, brother.
All right, guys, y'all have a good weekend, and we'll holler at you on Wednesday.
Yes, sir. There you go. JC Shurburtt, owner of thebigspur.com. We are all but out of time. Richard Bland would be a first-time winner, Darren. He is in sole possession of the lead at the U.S. Open, 4 under through 14 today.
Only guy who's gone lower than 2 under on the course right now. DeChambeau was at 3 under for the day. He's back to 2 under. It is not an easy course out there today.
It's going to be a great weekend. College baseball's College World Series kicks off tomorrow at 2 o'clock in Omaha, the U.S. Open. Most importantly, to Darren, to all of you, happy Father's Day. Love on those kids, and I hope they love on you as well. Thanks to Raphael Esparza, Tony Skole, and JC Shurburtt. And we'll see you Monday at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.